All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Kodash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Riven Stone. Shalom to the elect pushing this word in truth and in sincerity, with the hope of receiving mercy of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai is the name of His only begotten Son. I want to make it known that you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans are the Israelites according to the prophecies that are written in the scriptures. The RFID microchip is the charagma written about in Revelation 13, verse 15 on down. Yahweh Shai, whom the world ignorantly called Jesus, is about to make his return upon the earth to deliver his elect and to pour out judgment as it is written. And what we're waiting on right now is the day that Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai rise up to the prey. And we see a lot of signs that our Lord Yahweh Shai have foretold unto his servants, the prophets, at the Mount of Olives. We ask him, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming and of the end of the world? And our Lord have listed out certain things that are going to take place in the latter times, in which we are living in these times, and we're witnessing these prophecies being fulfilled before our eyes. As the Lord have said that in diverse places there are going to be earthquakes and pestilence and famine. And right now we're in a worldwide pandemic, as it is reported on these news media outlets around the world, in which them lock down countries around the world, schools around the world, churches around the world, and people are seeing things that they have never seen in their whole entire time being on this earth, We have not witnessed these things, We have not witnessed so many volcanoes erupting all around the world, so much earthquake shaking all around the world, reaching magnitudes that is not common. We're seeing floods and storms at biblical proportion, as it is written, as it is reported in the news medias, Salakia. But as it is written, this is how the Lord are going to visit the earth, with storm, with thunders, with pestilence, isn't it? And various other disasters in which the world refer to these as natural disasters, in which that's because them lack understanding, because it is written in Zephaniah 3 verse 5, so the judgment of the Lord is forth every morning, but the unjust know it no shame. They considering what's really taking place, what Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai is doing in the earth in these last days. So, as it is written in 2 Corinthians 15 verse 5, say, behold, say the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. And I want to zoom in on famine, because we want to see a transpire before this whole incident take place over there with Russia and Ukraine. It was already building, with NATO and Ukraine doing military drills, and Russia continually warning of these drills alongside their border is going to escalate into something, and that's what's going on. But a lot of people don't understand what's the ramifications of this whole thing right now, because Russia and Ukraine combined supposed to be two of the main exporters of wheat, of grain, and grain are things we use to feed your animals. It make majority of the foods, the snacks we want to eat right now. But people don't understand how that will impact their daily lives, because the way our things set is gonna change totally, Like in 2019, we just wake up and we start hear about this thing You see me, you're supposed to know because we can't call that name. It's like it's taboo right now, you know. You might get a strike just for talking about it, you know. Although you don't want to hear about it in the mainstream media right now, it's mainly about Russia and Ukraine, you know. But as you can see, oh, the Lord bring the famine because before this whole incident take place over there between Russia and Ukraine, you already have supply chain shortage, yo. You already have ships docking along on ports and cannot offload, you know. So you have a lot of things where I say you know affect the smooth transition of trade around the world, yo, in which goods and services are at a low state right now, yo. Enough people don't realize what's really going on in the earth, but hey man, this is the Lord's doing. Because as it is written in 2nd Ezra, yo, I want to say 2nd Ezra 6, and I'm going to start at verse 22. This is 2nd Ezra 6 verse 22. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. Go back into your agriculture, yo. You see me? Farming. You see me? You have a lot of farmers coming out right now. You see me? Talking about the lack of produce. And when them do have the produce, the lack of market, yo. You know? We're in them times. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. So you have out here, you have Mega Mart, you have ILO, you have Super Plus, you know, all these places, yo, where people go for their snacks, stock up them groceries for the month. All these places, one day in the phone, I'll go to these prominent places and I'm going to say, amen. It's locking in supplies, you know. It's locking in supplies because this train we're gonna hit the world, yo. It's just a few businesses, and these businesses have to be in line with the state. We're gonna weather the storm that is to come, yo. Because when the soul start hearing the leaders start making mentioning of food rationing. So these food storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, yo. And that will cause the earth's population to react a certain type of way. Verse 23. And the trumpet shall give a sound which when every man hear it, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friend fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. And people cannot see these things, yo. You see me? Because every day them get up, them can go work and provide for themselves and them families, you know. Them not see the dark times that is ahead, yo. And these things are what we are declaring to you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans that the Lord, Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, have declared that He is going to bring a level of chaos upon this world that the world have never seen before, yo. So I want to go straight to this video. And this clip is done by a man that is heavy in, when you talk about food and the supply chain. Amen. Ice Age farmer. On point with his information, man. You see me? Once it concerning food, because this is what I'm passionate about, yo. Just listen how I speak concerning this topic. So let's dive in.
For food rationing. Of course, they're blaming Putin for the food crisis, but you, my friends, welcome. The mainstream media is now warning us that it's time to get ready for food rationing. Of course, they're blaming Putin for the food crisis, but you and I know better. I find it interesting that they're even using the same verb, brace, that I used early last year when I warned you we were about to face this triple threat of inflation, supply chains collapsing, and food shortages. Well, we're now at that moment of impact. Tonight, I want to demonstrate that this is a deliberately engineered situation and that they're still taking steps to aggravate it. And then, more importantly, talk about how to start growing food in a way that can insulate your family from the effects of this food crisis. I'm Christian, and this is the Ice Age Farmer broadcast. And before I even begin, let me just observe that Telegram's banning of RT does not bode well for other alternative news sources who've been called Russian bots for the last few years, right? The censorship is growing quickly. I highly encourage you to bookmark iceagefarmer.com directly, and even bookmark the IP address, which will help you get around domain name level censorship, which, as I've covered, is already happening. So, yesterday in my report, I mentioned that Moldova had banned the export of grains, trying desperately to hold on to the food supply that they do have, and that other countries would be following suit, that this was now going to escalate quickly into a global food crisis. Indeed, that has happened, with Hungary following suit just a few hours ago. Hungary is a big producer of grains and a net exporter. So when they ban exports of grains, that means that there are other countries, the net importers, who don't have the food, who are up a creek without a paddle now. Zero Hedge is picking up on the situation. Food crisis is imminent. Hungary bans grain exports effective immediately. Those who have grains are no longer giving it away, and those who don't will soon find themselves in the middle of an epic food crisis. One of Europe's most grain-rich nations has, effective immediately, stopped exporting their grains. Expect grain prices to continue to rise, even though they're already at record highs, in the next few weeks, as the world realizes the extent of the global food crisis that is coming. And it's here now. You can't just cut off 40% of the world's grains from the Black Sea region and expect things to keep working.
When you hear that 40% represent Russia and Ukraine, you know, but to people that's in the world and not really understand the significance of where the podcast they are, the man where I did a video, you know, well, the thing them when I talk about them, I understand how significant it is in what's really going on, you know, is me, and how this are gonna affect your life in the coming days, you know. So I want to jump to a precept for you. So this is Ezekiel 5 verse 60. And it read, "When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction." Remember what the Lord said, He's going to bring upon the world, yo. The sword, famine, death, and destruction, yo. So the famine what the Lord will bring is for what? The destruction of the wicked, yo. So let's continue. "When I shall send upon them the evil arrows of famine, which shall be for their destruction, and which I will send to destroy you, and will increase the famine upon you, and will break your staff of bread." And this is what the Lord is doing, yo. Right now, yo. This is exactly what the Lord is doing. That's why every time when I go to the shops, the money one used to have now got as far anymore, yo. It's buying less and less goods, yo. Everybody I talk about what's going on. Today I go buy lunch, or should I say buy some dinner, you see me? And the food raised, yo. The food raised. But to a lot of people, they not regard what's going on, yo. But it's gonna get worse and worse, yo. So let's listen a little more.
As planned. Indeed, here are the countries who depend on those grains to feed their people, with Egypt by far the largest buyer of grains from the Black Sea region. They are all rushing out to the market and frantically trying to buy any grains they can, which, by the way, is what Zero Hedge and any thinking person would recommend.
So, if you don't know, China already stopped exporting their wheat, yo, their grain. Just think